And it is recording. Now, we are on the air. Once you get your mic stand set up.
There we go.
All right. So, yeah, we're live. We are live here. The inaugural True Kentucky already messing it up.
Okay, let's start over. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural podcast of, you guessed it, True Kentucky Culture. Bringing you news, updates, perspectives, and everything in between when it comes to what's going on in Kentucky. My name is Steve Hackett. I'm one of your hosts.
And I am John O'Brien, the other one that's part of this thing that we're doing here.
That's right. It is the scene right now, right out the back door of the basement, is a nice, white, snowy, wintry landscape in January. So we're kind of starting off a new year, expanding into the audio perspective and giving you this podcast. So hopefully we'll get some people that are interested in this. Just to give a little bit of background about True Kentucky Culture. So John and I kind of started this about a year and a half ago, and it actually kind of spawned out of a little bit of a joke because, you know, I'm not from Kentucky, and I've been here 12 years, and I've always told everybody, oh, I've lived here 12 years, and I know how bourbon is made, and I've hiked all these different trails, and I know all these great spots, so I'm pretty much a true Kentuckian at this point. So, and everybody was very averse to that, said, no, you can't be a true Kentuckian. You got to either live here half your life, or what was the other stipulation?
The other one, like I said, half your life you have to have lived here, or become a Kentucky Colonel, a prestigious award that you can be bestowed upon you here in Kentucky. And since he didn't want to wait that long, what'd you go ahead and do?
Well, unbeknownst to me, you know, this topic had been beaten to death across family and friends for a couple of years, and then my bandmate Wade got a friend of his, Bobby, who is a colonel, to put in the nomination for me. And Wade texted me when I was at work one day, and he said, hey, are you still at the office? I want to stop by and give you something. And I was like, yeah, I'll be here, so swing by. So he comes by, I walk out the front door, and he hands me a frame, like a picture frame from Michael's, and I look at it, and it says, to the Honorable Order of the Kentucky Colonels, Steve Hackett, commissioned as a Kentucky Colonel. And I was like, oh my God, I was beside myself. And he snapped a couple of pictures, and I was just elated.
Yeah, I don't believe I've ever seen you or anyone else that happy in their life. I mean, I've seen people have kids, and they've been happy to have children, get married, just happy about that, even get divorced. People get happy sometimes when they get divorced.
Right. I've
never seen anyone as elated as you were with that document in hand.
It took me about 2 weeks to come down off of that high. It was pretty amazing. And, the thing is, Kentucky Colonels is a really reputable organization, raises several $1 million a year for great causes, charities, community programs across the entire state and beyond. And really, to be nominated, it has to be a semi-decent write-up of whoever you're trying to get commissioned. So, I mean, we've done a few things here and there, but certainly sharing the company with some incredible people that are make up the Honorable Order of the Kentucky Colonels. While we're talking, I mean, some of the ones that you may be most familiar with at home, obviously Colonel Sanders was not a military man. That's all reference back to him being Kentucky Colonel. Muhammad Ali, many others that that are household names. But anyway, they do a lot of good stuff. We'll come back, talk more about that some other time. But in any case, the whole thing about it was when I first moved here from Virginia, I didn't know a whole lot of people, obviously. My wife is from here, and didn't know a whole lot of people. So with that, in my spare time, a lot of what I did was just kind of going out and exploring things. So looking for cool trails, parks, bourbon distilleries. As I made friends, we'd go out and do that. It'd kind of be like the thing you do on the weekend is go out to bourbon country and see how each of the distilleries are doing things in their own way. And so, John, you and I became friends probably around 2011 and kind of ran with a lot of the same people. And then we just started venturing out and checking out a lot of stuff. So, and that's kind of what spawned this whole thing. It was like, hey, we're out exploring stuff. We tell our friends about it. We tell our coworkers about the stuff that we find every weekend. Why don't we, it's not that much harder to just go online and share it with the masses. So that's kind of what birthed this whole True Kentucky Culture thing, right?
Yeah. The name is just kind of from the joke, and then what we do is definitely from just exploring and wanting to share that knowledge and those experiences with everyone. I mean, because everyone can experience these things. These aren't things that just are exclusive to some people. It's everyone. And you don't even have to be from the state to experience these things. You can come from afar, go to them. There's so many festivals, so many things going on. Art, music, food, beverage of all sorts available in the heartland here in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So we just want to share that with everybody, and that's kind of what we've been doing for the last, about, like I said, year and a half, and this is just going to kind of take it to that next level, have guests on that can talk about either a small business or music, literature, art, food, everything that we can bring from Kentucky and bring it to you more accessibly.
All walks of life, no limits. And that's kind of the cool thing is a lot of people with podcasts or social media pages, they like to go deep into a topic, and that's kind of their focus, and that's cool. We're kind of more macro approach because we just don't want to be limited by any particular genre. And with Kentucky, there's obviously, with many other states, not all, but many other states in this country has a wide variety of things that are great to offer and let people know about. And the cool thing about from kind of where we sit is since people know that we do this, we're always getting hit up from all different, sources saying, hey, did you hear about this happening next weekend? Hey, did you know about that? We get people message us on the page telling us about things that we otherwise probably wouldn't have known about because, maybe it's a little rinky-dink festival in the corner of the state that isn't very popular, but has a lot of unique attributes to it. So we'll hear about it that way. So we kind of our mission, if you want to call it that, is just to kind of be a soundboard for that, a collection. Not going to say we have everything, certainly. There's so much going on, but definitely want to bring the best parts of Kentucky year-round to the forefront so that everybody's aware of it.
Definitely. And I mean, that being said, if you have any ideas, anything that you'd like to see us do, anything you need to think needs some of that publicity, let us know about it. We're always open to find about these new things and go experience them and then share those experiences with people that may not be able to go out there and experience them. Yeah,
we're definitely about promoting local businesses. If it's a one-time event or a once-a-year event, anything like that, definitely all about promoting it beforehand and during. A lot of times we'll promote it beforehand, then actually go out to the event and cover it, do like a Facebook live stream or upload a video or things like that. So we're always kind of up and about doing those types of things.
I think that's kind of, again, that's our backstory, kind of where we started out, where we're kind of going to push forward to, again, trying to get out to more places, trying to see more things. We're going to take a small little break right now, though, and then when we come back, I think we're going to do a tasting of a couple different bourbons here from Kentucky and let you know what we think about them.
Yeah. Oh, wow. We just made it through our first segment. I think that deserves a drink.
It
calls
does.
for a drink.
Drinker 4. So we'll be right back.
Yeah. Welcome back to True Kentucky Culture Podcast. Going into the second segment here. So to have some type of order, not just make this just a purely stream of consciousness related podcast, as some others are, and skillfully at that, we're going to have some type of layout. So what we're going to do in this second segment, like I said, it's a wintry day out. It's pretty cold, so nobody's really venturing out. So why not sit around and drink some fine bourbons from Kentucky?
I'm down for that.
In case you aren't aware, Kentucky makes bourbon, right? And a lot of it. And actually, as I heard recently, we are just, believe this or not, this is a kooky fact, we are just reaching production levels of the 1940s and 50s right now. I know bourbon's been a huge hit for the past 10, 15 years and continues to trend upwards. But yeah, we are just catching up from the levels of about 70 years ago.
Which is crazy. When we were at Knob Creek picking out a barrel with Mammoth Cave Liquors, what was the number of barrels in the state outnumbers what?
The number of people. There's more barrels than people in Kentucky.
More barrels than people.
Yeah.
Like, that's just mind-blowing in itself.
Yeah, and it's exponentially growing too. I mean, that statistic is going to get even more and more ridiculous as time goes on. As long as bourbon continues to trend upwards as it has the past couple of years, and there's no sign of it slowing down. So we've got, today we'll be sampling a wide variety of spirits from Kentucky. We have, the first thing that we're going to try is the 1792 225th anniversary edition. This was a gift bottle for Christmas from some very nice people that I know. And this one is kind of interesting. The thing about bourbon now is a lot of it's pretty gimmicky.
Very, very gimmicky. A lot of it, they're selling. I mean, they are in the business of making money and business of being in business.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about the price variance in some of these things, not so much for the 1792, but particularly the ones like the Pappy Van Winkles and the A.H. Hirsch and the, what are a couple other ones?
Well, we got the Tornado one. What was that one called? Like Lost Barrels, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of mystique.
A little mystique,
yeah.
But it might be marketing.
Michter's Celebration,
yeah,
which was it's like a $5,000 bottle. It was featured on Billions. If you haven't watched Billions on Showtime, it's phenomenal. But $5,000 a bottle, I mean, that's what we're getting to now. So not only bottles getting up in that price range, but even down at the ground level with these like 1792 and those other ones, kind of looking for any type of distinction they can make in their product because people are just eating this up. And is the nuance in the flavor and the mouthfeel and the number of years it's aged and the proof and all that, is all that distinction really worth the difference in price? One may argue towards it, one may argue against it. I kind of sit a little bit in the middle. I mean, the truth of the matter is, in my opinion, you can have a great bourbon for like, a fifth of bourbon for $20-25. $30. Now you're getting into some nicer stuff, and kind of goes up from there. But that's just my outlook on it. But
definitely, I'm on that same level. Does it taste good? That's my distinction of if it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what it is. Don't the story's nice. The story's nice to hear, but does it taste good?
Yeah.
That's where I lay in, and do I want to drink it? Is the other side. I mean, it may taste good, but like tasting it, if it's too good, like you don't want to have it all the time.
Right.
Then you just drink it up, and then you got to worry about getting more. That's what happened with my Shanks bottles this year.
Yeah.
I got the stuff, and it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And Shanks was one of those discoveries from this year that you had up at, why don't you tell, it's kind of an interesting story before we start diving into the...
Why don't you go ahead and pour us this
Yeah, I'll pour you
1792,
some. Yeah.
and I'll talk about that.
Here,
So, yeah.
toss me your glass real quick.
Yeah. There you go.
I'll give you a nice
We've
pour.
been sipping a little bit beforehand here. And, Shanks. So Shanks is a Sour Mash whiskey. So it's not a bourbon. It's a Sour Mash whiskey that is in the Michter's lineage. Story goes that there's a Pennsylvania Swiss Mennonite farmer that's distilling back in the 1800s, I believe. And he had a recipe. He had that recipe for years, sold it to the Baumberger family. And then the Michter family bought that from Baumbergers and was lost for a number of years. And a couple of years back, I believe it was 2 years back, they released the first year's supply of it. 2017 was the second year's supply, and that's when I found out about it down at Bourbon Barrel Tavern. And it is an amazing whiskey. Just so good. And the availability is small, but now the secondary market has actually picked up on this, and they are selling these at a high price. Like, this is a lower end, kind of like $45 for a bottle, but now on the secondary market it's going up to about $150 a bottle because they're out of the market right now.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon at all. I mean, we've seen this happen time and time again. Booker's was another kind of story like that, where you could get Booker's, I think, somewhere in the $45 to $50 range, and usually sitting somewhere between 126 and 132 proof, if memory serves, but really hot, really high proof. It's going to hit you, but I mean, it's so much thought and care put into that recipe. It's delicious, but it is more bold and aggressive if you're willing to go there. But that one skyrocketed, and from what I understand, Jim Beam Company actually was looking to control the supply there to drive up the price, which is the first time I think I've heard of that happen.
Well, there was supposedly a shortage of the liquid. Then they found some, so that's kind of interesting, kind of, again, marketing kind of thing.
Yeah, that old gag, right? I mean, we keep hearing about that. Elijah Craig 18-year was one of the first that we kind of experienced that whole phenomenon with. But it's at the point now where bourbon's been big for the past 10, 15 years. So Knob Creek had the big drought, they called it, of I think 2007, 2008. Made a big deal about it, and that was, I think, legitimate, because if you look back, they're a 9-year typical bourbon. So you look back 9 years from then, as early 2000s, bourbon was a little bit on the rise, but not nearly what we know it is right now. So now it seems like these companies should really have a good grasp on what should the projected levels be. But maybe I'm taking liberties with that.
So with the 1792, so we've got the 1792.
Mm-hmm.
What's the again? It's 225th anniversary of this recipe, or of the year, right?
Oh, 225th anniversary of the birth of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I mean,
that's what it is.
This is some pretty. Yeah. How dare you?
Yeah.
So yeah, really interesting thing here. 1792 always has been one of those, like I was saying, one of those affordable bourbons that's gonna taste good every time. It's not gonna be the best one you've ever had, but it's a good sipping. It's reasonable on the shelf in terms of cost, and made by Barton in the heart of Bardstown, Kentucky. They've got a tour. I did it a couple years ago. It's one of those smaller tours, so I don't know if they've overhauled it like some of the other distilleries have in the wake of all the bourbon tour popularity over the past couple of years. But they're Barton, and they make a number of other spirits as well. Very old Barton VOB.
I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of that one.
And a couple other ones. But this one in particular, so what they did with this was kind of messed with the proof and the alcohol by volume ratios. So it's 46.075 alcohol by volume, which equates to 92.15 proof. Kind of an odd proof. Usually you're seeing it in whole numbers, right?
Whole numbers, or either like halves or so, yeah. But mass distributed like this was, you're not going to see those halves. Like Booker's, you'll see the little halves, the points. What's up with the .15?
Well, with the Bookers too, it's exactly how they're pulling it out of the barrel, right?
It is.
This isn't so. This is a static. It's printed on there. It's not handwritten. And what they did with the 92.15, kind of cheeky, right? So 92 being playing off of the year 1792, and .15, the 15 being that Kentucky is the 15th state. Commonwealth. Well, it's a state. I mean, we don't have all commonwealths, obviously, in the country, but yeah, state/commonwealth of the United States of America. So that's what they did there. I'm not going to try to pretend that I know the distinction between this one and the just straight 1792, but this is very palatable.
Yeah, I drink this every once in a while. I have a acquaintance that can provide some very tasty 1792 versions that I actually use in some homebrew kind of alterations that I do to kind of add some flavor. But 1792, great bourbon. I really like it. It's got some good caramel notes to this one. Very tasty.
Yeah. It says on the back label, in honor of the anniversary, a distinct group of barrels have been carefully selected and married together to create this special commemorative expression. Wow, it's like poetry. They've hired some really talented people, I guess, to do the marketing for these companies now. After aging nearly a decade in century-old warehouses in Bardstown, Kentucky, this bourbon is a true toast to the 225th anniversary of the Bluegrass State. So there you have it. That's the first one. We're kind of starting off strong here.
Yeah. But it's good. Like I said, I would enjoy this any other time. That was a large pour that you gave me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through all these today, but we'll do it.
Just slam it.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I'm not a fan of that Kentucky Chew. I don't think that. I mean, if you want to analyze everything in a whiskey or what you're tasting, yeah, you can do these things. But if you just want to enjoy it for what it is, just enjoy it for what it is.
Right.
Does it taste good? That's the question. If it tastes good, great. Drink it.
Just drink it, yeah. So, the next one we will jump into is Flatboat.
Flatboat. I have no idea about this one. What distillery did this come from? Where is it at? What's the story behind it? Because everybody's got a story these days.
Yeah, this was another Christmas gift. This is one you see on the end cap at Liquor Barn. So it's more entry level. It's got a screw top. It's 90 proof. Looking at the detail of the design on the label, let's see what info I can garner here. Not a whole lot.
While you're looking,
yep.
You look and see. Screw tops, I'll tell you what, gang. Nothing wrong with a screw top. Mellow corn, delicious. It's on a whiskey, of course. It's just a corn whiskey, but it's a great product.
Mm-hmm.
Great for mixers, great for cocktails, things of that sort. Because that's the thing. It doesn't matter how you drink it, as long as it tastes good to you.
Right.
If you need to add a little splash of Coke, that's fine.
Yeah.
We are trying all these just as they are, neat.
What's neat? Explain that. Not everybody
so,
may know
all right,
what that
so
means.
there's different ways that you need to be able to drink. I'm sure neat without ice, just in a glass,
and no water, right?
And
not
no
even
water.
a drop of water.
You could add a drop of water, and that's the deciding point. Later on, you taste it, you're like, well, maybe we need to open up some flavors. A little bit of water in alcohol can open up some things that may need to happen. It just depends on that heat and what's in there as well. So yeah, we're pouring these in here. Getting a little Flatboat. Anything else on that Flatboat label?
Yeah, it says bottled by the Founders Company, Louisville, Kentucky. That's all they're giving away. So I think this is just mass produced. There we go, just a little snort. But to John's point there, if you have a nice bourbon and you're reluctant to even add some ice, if you're going to add ice, make sure you buy it at the store. Don't buy what's coming out of your refrigerator because it's likely tainted by whatever odors you have. Your old spaghetti, you don't want that tainting the flavor of your ice because it will traverse into your bourbon pour. So get the nice ice.
Or they've got the stones or the stainless steel cubes as well these days. They
You
won't
can't-
add any extra water, but they
Right.
add that chill if you think that you need the chill.
If you need the chill, yeah. But sometimes, just a few, literally, when you go to some of these tastings, like speaking of Barton, when we were there, they give us eyedroppers. And you literally just give 1 or 2 drops, and that H2O permeates in there and literally changes the molecular structure to the point where it opens up all of that great stuff that it rendered from its time living in that barrel. So don't think that you have to do it neat to be a purist. If you really want to get the best out of a bourbon, sometimes a few drops of water will do it. So this is the Flatboat. Again, I don't know much about this one. I need to do more research to see who makes it, how long is it aged, but it is a 90 proof. So anyway, let's see what the deal is.
Yeah, we'll check this out. Definitely.
It's a little lighter on the.
So actually, this is pretty interesting. I just looked up a little bit of info.
Oh wow! What did you use to
Google,
do that?
Uncle Google. Yeah. So we went from 1792 to another 1792 product. It's Blanton's. So Blanton's makes this, or Barton's.
Oh, Barton's.
Barton's. My bad. Blanton's. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Barton's 1792 makes this.
All right.
Yeah.
So on the same
and these
premises.
are only at Liquor Barn, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh really?
This is a Liquor Barn only.
Yeah.
Exclusive at Liquor Barn in Kentucky.
And Liquor Barn is a Kentucky-born company, right? Or
No.
They go cross-border.
They're cross borders, and they actually got just bought out by a Canadian company. I forget what the company is, but they just got bought out by a Canadian company. I think that everything's not fully finished yet, but they did buy all of the Kentucky liquor barns. They didn't buy all the liquor barns in the whole country, but they did buy all the ones in Kentucky.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
I always thought that Liquor Barn was a local outfit.
No, and
albeit several chains.
And they do
several
have
locations.
exclusives that are kind of neat. They have some wine exclusives. They have some whiskey and bourbon exclusives
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
Which this one, again, good nose on it. Not too hot. Doesn't smell too hot.
No, it's not hot at all. Really easy on the tongue. It lacks a little bit in terms of profound flavor profiles, but it's decent. It's not bad.
Yeah, we got some lights, a little vanilla on the nose.
Yeah, it seems a little sweeter.
A little vanilla, a little caramel as well on the nose. And then the flavor, it holds true to those as well.
Mm-hmm.
Really smooth. And
Yeah, it doesn't have like that ethanol kind of sentiment to it at all.
so this,
Which
I
a lot
mean,
of these
this
do.
would be akin to possibly something that maybe somebody wants to kind of get into the world of bourbon. This would be an ideal kind of like starter on that.
Yeah.
It's nice and smooth, a little sweeter than most. Yeah, definitely would approve this for kind of a startup.
Yeah, and for the price,
Oh,
again, I'm not one to mix with any type of soda products. But for the price, I may let it slide. If I'm going to be drinking for several hours at a party,
yeah. I mean,
and I want to kind of mix it down a little bit, and
this might be a good
would
one
do
for
it.
also a mint julep. You know,
oh yeah,
possibly a mint julep would be good with this because it's already kind of sweet. So adding a little bit more sugar, some of that mint, muddled mint, that good, nice nugget ice that we all love for a mint julep. A little sprig of mint up in there. So good. Well, we're going to move on to now a Buffalo Trace, right?
yeah. This is shocker, another gift from the holiday.
Well, I mean, you're well loved. I mean, a guy like yourself, I mean.
I don't know about all that, but I will openly accept bourbon as a gift. It's a great gift, no matter what type. So this is the Buffalo Trace, just a standard bottle with the Buffalo Trace label. Buffalo Trace is an interesting one. It wasn't Buffalo Trace at the time, but the distillery, the grounds that they're on, the distillery that preceded them, maybe by several iterations, was one of the only distilleries that remained open during Prohibition, during the Volstead Act. So under the pretense or regulation, shall we say, that they were creating medicine.
Well, medicinal. Whiskey has always been a medicinal product. Let's not kid ourselves. Whenever you kind of sometimes need that pick-me-up, whiskey's a good thing for it.
Right.
Gets a party started.
Oh, wow.
So
Look at that.
This one actually is not a screw top. That's cork, and that's some real cork, gang. That's not anything that's the faux cork, anything like that. We got real cork going on here. Nice little sip of this Buffalo Trace, and this is a special edition too, right?
It is indeed. It's got a bronze circular colored sticker just to the right of the word Trace, and it says single barrel, hand selected for Total Wine and More, barrel number 89.
Okay, so this is kind of like the single barrel that Steve and I got to go help select for Mammoth Cave Liquors at Jim Beam, which we selected a Knob Creek barrel. If you haven't been to Mammoth Liquors to pick up one of those, please do. They are delicious. Whenever
Mammoth Liquors is in Cave City.
Well, there's Cave City, and there's also one in Campbellsville. There's two Mammoth Liquors.
Okay. So
and they also have a sister store here in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, where we are at.
Right. Packages and More.
Packages and More.
Right next to Hard Memorial Health. So as soon as you check out of the hospital, you can skip right over and pick up something, help you relax and forget whatever you were at the hospital for.
It's you fill your script.
Yeah. It's
over at the Packages and More.
It's at the Facto Pharmacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So this is let me get back to the bottle here and see what the since we've been talking about proof and alcohol. So this is 45% alcohol, so you double that, you end up with your 90 proof. So, we'll take a sip of this.
And I get some really interesting notes off this. I talked about not doing that Kentucky Chew, but it does help open up the mouth. It does let air in, because everything affects how you drink things. You know, just opening up the mouth and letting that in is interesting.
Yeah, do the chew.
Do the chew. That's just what they say at the tour.
So the chew is really it's so basically here. I'm going to take a sip. All right. I know that probably sounds terrible to your ears, but that's it. So just chewing on that sip, it'll open up the flavors, open up the aromas, so you really maximize that sip. Ill-advised for if you're in a bar, particularly if you're single and you're trying to find a mate. That may scare somebody off, may make you look kind of unfavorable. But yeah, it's good. In the privacy of your own home, it really will open up that flavor. This is my favorite.
What do you get off that? It's your favorite so far?
Yeah, it's dynamic. It's giving me, every time I take a sip of bourbon, the first thing I look for, and I'm by no means absolutely an expert at discerning one bourbon from the next. I've had a few lucky chances where someone's given me a sip and I've guessed what it was. So I think it was a little bit of luck and maybe a little bit of muscle memory from the tongue. But no, the thing that I look for is when I take that first sip, am I having simplicity or complexity? And if I get complexity and I don't know how to decompose it, I'm impressed already. So that usually means that there's a lot of thought put into the mash bill, and there's a lot of thought put into the process, and they're doing something kind of special with the aging. But that's just my own take on it. But yeah, it's
and I mean, even beyond that, if it's a single barrel, yes, it's the picking of that single barrel. When we went, that's exactly it. They give you 3 barrels. They give you 3 barrels to taste. Everyone tastes these barrels, and we try to figure out, okay, which one has the best of all. You want that aroma, you want that taste, and you want that look.
Yeah.
Those are the things. To me, that's the way it goes for me. Because, I want it to smell good. If I'm going to drink it, I want it to smell good.
Yeah.
If I'm going to drink it, secondly, I want it to taste good.
Yeah.
Thirdly, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to see what the color is. And this one actually had like an interesting kind of more of a reddish hue to it than some of the Buffalo Trace that I've seen. And it's just a beautiful whiskey.
Yeah. And I think these are all rye bourbons, which most of them are. You look at most of the bourbons on the shelf. I think the only wheated bourbons, the most famous of which is Maker's Mark, and they use the red winter wheat. And
we got the Bernheim has the wheat as well. It's the wheated whiskey as well, I believe.
Yeah. So not as harsh. The rye is what gives you that spiciness, makes it a little hotter flavor. So that's why a lot of people do favor, especially if they're not from Kentucky and they're not favoring the spicy rye, they'll go with the Maker's Mark. It's a lot more easy, I guess, easy drinking.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot smoother. Starting out, I always point to a Jim Beam product usually when I'm having someone start out with any kind of whiskey or bourbon. I'll say that Basil Hayden's is an amazing starting out whiskey because it's smooth. But I'll tell you what, like I said, I may have to move them to this flatboat if it's available where they're at, because it's actually, for me, it's a good starter whiskey. Oh, he's pouring a nice full drink of this.
Well, it's the last one.
It's the last one. Yeah, of these that we're going to do.
Yeah.
What is this last one that we're going to sample today?
So, this is from our friends at Willett Distillery, just down the road from Heaven Hill in Bardstown, Kentucky. And this is called Johnny Drum. It's private stock. Alcohol by volume 50.5, so 91 proof, or 101 proof, forgive me there. As I drink more, my mathematical skills, my arithmetic skills get dulled slightly.
This is true. And full transparency here, we did taste this one already New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
We cracked this one New Year's Eve. I remember getting my knife out because this thing has a very interesting, and I think it was a faulty pull on the wax ring, because this thing is full of wax up top, and we could not get it open, so I had to pull out the knife and chisel away at this wax. But we finally got it open. Don't worry. There's some teeth marks later on. It happened. And
yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. I mean, Maker's does a good job. They got the soft wax, but this is, I guess, some harder wax. Aesthetically pleasing, but when it comes to opening, I don't know how. I mean, this is definitely not conducive to your older demographic. Not to be ageist, but
and especially after you've had a few, and because this was the second bottle we got into that night.
Oh yeah, you can seriously hurt yourself, because the first thing you're going to grab for is the sharpest thing in the kitchen,
as we did.
Yeah, and you could end up severing, which I've done on New Year's Eve. Well, that'll be another story.
Yeah,
but Johnny Drum. So it says Johnny Drum Distilling Company, Bardstown, Nelson County, Kentucky. So it doesn't make any mention at all that it's has any affiliation to the Willett Distillery, which is not uncommon. Sometimes when you're doing a branding strategy for a product like this, you don't necessarily want to affiliate yourself with the namesake of the distillery.
Now, if I'm not incorrect here, and I believe I am, you visited Willett's not too long ago.
Right. Yeah, it was back in November.
Okay. Which isn't like peak bourbon visiting season. I get that, like, a lot of places aren't like humming at this time, right?
Yeah, it's not really, but there were people on the grounds. And think about Willett, I don't know. I really hope they turn things around. A lot of people don't like their pot stilled. It's the bottle you see on the shelf, very fancy, where it's got a wide base. It's just shaped like a copper pot still, and then the tall skinny neck, right? Very prolific bottling.
Which bottle it is, yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't like that. I actually like that. And they make Rowan's Creek and Noah's Mill. Some of these more.
Oh, those are really tasty.
They're really tasty, premiums. But in my opinion, I think they have far and away the most beautiful grounds of any distillery in the Commonwealth. Now, the thing is, they just built a brand new visitor center. They've got all kinds of different structures on that property. They put like a giant gazebo, looks like something maybe for weddings and family reunions, things of that nature. And then next to that, they've got another building of which I'm not sure the purpose because it's not open. And then they have a grist mill next to that.
Great for photo ops, right?
Yeah, fantastic for photo ops, of which I took advantage when I was there. But to get to those other buildings, just to check them out, we had to go around some that caution tape.
Some red tape,
yeah,
if you will.
So my buddy and I rattled off a couple pictures, and then all of a sudden a lady emerged from the visitor center about a couple 100 yards away and started screaming at us saying, "Hey, we're not supposed to be over there." I just figured that the tape was there just so vehicles didn't pull past, but apparently you're not even supposed to walk over there. So anyway, that was...
It could have been a police investigation scene, possibly.
Possibly.
I don't want to put that past the possibility. Maybe she's.
But it wasn't police tape.
Okay.
It wasn't police tape. It was just caution tape. So right. So if it was that scenario, I'm going to discount that. I'm sorry. I'm going to discount that one. She came out. She started yelling. Not very welcoming, right? I mean, if we were in the wrong, say, "Hey, could you please," whatever. So then we make our way over to the visitor center, and the first thing I notice is the gutters and some of the trim on this visitor center, which incidentally they tore down the other one was fine. It was just smaller, probably about 25% the size, but it was a brand new building. They tore that one down. They built this big visitor center over there, copper gutters, copper trim all around. I'm like, is that really necessary?
Well,
right?
that's their shtick. They're copper. That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah, but I mean, think about that. That's pretty pricey, you know?
Yeah, it's pricey bourbon.
It is.
They're making some money.
Yeah. So, and backing up from here, when we first rolled up onto the property, you see all kinds of construction equipment and materials strewn across the fields and everything around the rick houses. So it looks kind of like it's a weird juxtaposition of high-end bourbon and the Beverly Hillbillies. So I didn't really get that. I know that they are under construction. Last time I was there was probably about 4 years ago. Guess what? They were under construction. So they need to figure it out.
Constant state of improvement, right? I mean, it's something that we all need to be in, right?
They do, but I mean, if you look at their counterparts like Makers and Jim Beam, they're all doing constant improvement to their tours. Wild Turkey just doubled their operation and relaunched a new tour a couple years ago, but it didn't look like things were in a constant state of disarray, and that's kind of what they do. And then we walk into the visitor center. Nobody walks up to us asking if we wanted a tour.
No greeting.
No greeting at all.
Oh, wow, gang.
No greeting. The people behind the counter working in the merch shop didn't even realize we were there. So, and then the similar experience to what we had outside transcended into the inside of the visitor center to where they didn't even have. They had like the stairwell blocked off with the tape. They had this. It was kind of chaotic, and it wasn't very welcoming at all. And I work in a business that's very customer oriented, right? So there was no customer service orientation at Willett, and I thought it was
satisfaction of the customer is number one,
right?
You want satisfaction,
and I will be crass in this metaphor here, but I keep telling people right now that you could literally take a piss into an unused charred white oak barrel and make $1 million and call it bourbon. You could. And that's just because of the aforementioned growth rate of the industry. Now, is it always going to remain that way? You know, what goes up comes down eventually, right? Is vodka going to be the next thing? Is sake going to be the next thing? Who knows?
Possibly beer.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So to me, I was just kind of put off by the experience, and then I kind of just chalked it up to maybe they're having an off day or something. Well, the more I talk to other people that work in the bourbon industry and have friends in the bourbon industry, I relayed this same long, drawn-out story to them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's exactly the same experience we had." So, like I said, I like their products. I think they have.
They taste good.
It tastes good. They undoubtedly have the best looking piece of property in bourbon country. They overlook the creek running by, and you can see the Heaven Hill Distillery on the other bluff across the way. It's glorious. But I really hope that they turn things around.
See, that's where you and I kind of differ a little bit on that realm. Is where like kind of if I can taste it again, if it tastes good, who cares how it comes to me? I'm gonna enjoy it, and I'm gonna share it with people. And hopefully, if they go and they visit the distillery, it's not that type of experience. But if it is, hopefully they'll rely on what it tastes like. Because a lot of people are great at one thing. And distillers are not different from that. Some distillers are amazing at showmanship.
Mm-hmm.
Like makers. They got the bottling line where they do the dippings and all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
But necessarily would I want to drink makers all the time? No.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
But this right here, this John Drum, I'll drink this all day.
It's good.
It's good. And do I care what the experience is at the distillery? Personally, no, because I'm not there right now. But in the moment, I get your feelings, and I understand that.
I think it's all part of a package deal, and that seems to be their Achilles heel. Now, the thing that breaks my heart about it is, like I said, they've created these. They've got a little pond down there. They've got the grist mill. They're really getting creative because I haven't seen any other distillery that has a grist mill on premises. That is super cool. And I even heard that they're building a bed and breakfast.
Wow, gang.
Yeah.
I mean, but hopefully you have the attention to detail that they need for that. Because a bed and breakfast, you do need those details.
Right.
And you also need the customer service.
Exactly. And so, I don't know. I feel like I'm giving them a bad rap here, but like I said, that was my impression. That's all I've got, and that's the impression that I've garnered from talking from other people that have set foot on there.
But I mean, that's just what we want to give. We want to give that true, honest, transparency feedback to everyone. Because I mean, if you can't talk honestly to anyone, you're not being real.
Yeah,
and that's what we will definitely be real with all of you in the podcast, on the Facebook, on the Instagram.
Oh yeah,
just us.
Just because we're here to promote Kentucky culture and Kentucky products doesn't mean we're going to be shills.
No,
I mean, we're not going to be saps. But we're going to give you honest opinion. So get ready for that. But it's all about covering it. It's all about exposing it. So that's kind of where we're coming from in there. But back to this Johnny Drum though, the thing that I like about that I'm noticing off of the finish, right after you've sipped it, you've drank it down.
Give it a little chew.
You give it a little chew. It's sitting on your tongue. What do you get there, right? Between sips? I'm getting a little kind of like cloves.
Yeah. So it does have definitely a spiciness that none of these other ones have had that I really think makes this a really good bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff.
It is good. I've never had it before.
You had it before. You just don't remember having it. Because again, we opened this one on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
We already had drank a full bottle of a rye I was given. We were having a good time. Rittenhouse rye. Yeah.
No. I mean, I've had it. I do recall slightly having it on New Year's Eve, but prior to that,
we hadn't. Yes, the first year we've had it. Yeah.
Yeah,
it was past New Year, so this is the first New Year for it.
Yeah, this is really, really good. I definitely recommend it. And
do you know the price point on this at all?
I don't, because it was a gift. I think it is a little pricier. If I do remember from when we were on premises at Willett, I think it's at somewhere around $45-$50.
Okay, yeah, that's not bad though. Again, would pay that gladly, opposed to some of those higher dollar ones that aren't worth it.
Yeah,
definitely. Not going to mention any names, but they're not worth it.
So that's it. 1792 was the first one. Buffalo Trace, the Total Wine Select, the Flat Boat, and which is a recent emerger into the market, and then finally Johnny Drum. So all around good stuff.
Definitely good. I'm saying for all those out there, go with that Flatboat. If you've not had bourbon yet, if you're trying to get into it, that's not a bad one to start out with. Again, it's made by Barton. It's good stuff.
Yeah, available at Liquor Barn. At a good price.
Exclusively at a good price.
At a good price.
$25.
No, not I don't even know if it's that much, honestly. Somewhere between 19 and 25.
Yeah, $25. It's not bad.
Yep.
And then if you want to spend a little bit more, that Johnny Drum is my next choice.
That's it. Yeah. And we'll do for future tastings, but this is just what we had laying around the house. True Kentuckians usually have 2 or 3 bottles.
You got to have at least a couple
around.
bottles of whiskey around the house.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll come back with you here in a few minutes, and we'll have something else new for you.
All right.
And we're back here with True Kentucky Culture, coming at you on a good-looking Saturday afternoon. Yeah, we just finished all those bourbon tastings. They were delicious. And now we're going to move into something a little bit different. Home brewing. Pretty much the unfinished whiskey, as some would say.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
I mean, beer is the unfinished whiskey. It's an unfinished product going into whiskey. Just got to distill out that beer, and you got some tasty whiskey, right?
Right.
All right. Good deal. But right now, craft beer in Kentucky, it's booming.
It is.
We've got so many of these small craft breweries opening up. And we just had one here in Elizabethtown open up just in November, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Flywheel Brewing.
Flywheel.
The first and only brewery currently in Elizabethtown since Prohibition.
I know. Pretty legendary there, right? I mean, the three owners just putting it all on the line. These guys, Ashley, Josh, and Aaron, like to give them credit where credit's due. I mean, they spent many months working hard on gutting this space that they procured, and did a fantastic job. Very cozy little unique brew pub right in the heart of Elizabethtown on Mulberry. Definitely check it out. They just opened back in November, but we've known these guys several months before they started on the project.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they actually helped revitalize my love of brewing. So, like, I've been brewing for quite a few years at home, maybe about 8 years, I'd say. About as long as they've been brewing, but I kind of slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of like doing other things, working, of course, work hard. And doing some art on the side, and also all these trips that we do. But I kind of brought back to a love of brewing when they started a homebrew club here in Hardin County, Kentucky.
Yeah, the page is Homebrewers of Hardin County, right?
Yeah.
So if you've got an interest in such things, definitely go like the page, and we meet once a month at a minimum. So definitely join up if that's your thing. There's probably quite a few other people out there that like to do home brewing or are interested, but they just don't know where to start because it can be a little intimidating. You got to get equipment to do it. You got to know the general process. It's a little intimidating, but that's kind of the cool thing about that group is if you don't have all that gear, there's brew dates that happen about once a month, right?
Yeah, definitely. Everybody's brewing at least once a month at different times, and sometimes the same day, and sometimes the same location. We'll just kind of hang out, brew a couple different recipes, and have a fun time. And that's what it's about. It's about kind of getting together, bouncing ideas off each other, and seeing what those come out as, the fruition, I guess, of the ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy that I met through the club, which I have helps me kind of grow my idea, because I'm more on the creative side of brewing, but I need to try to hone in on the consistency of brewing.
Yeah,
is one of our friends that we met through the group, Smith. He has helped me kind of learn those things and try to build on those things, definitely. But here recently, there's a local brewery up in Louisville, Kentucky, called Against the Grain Brewery that always releases a Bowen Luke every year. It's a stout made with rye, corn, and barley, then aged in bourbon barrels.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, because kind of alluding to the previous segment where we covered all those different bourbons, bourbons have a lot of people. There's a lot of misconceptions, just like everything else. There's a lot of misconceptions with bourbon and what constitutes a bourbon and what are the rules, as you will.
Because there are rules.
Bourbon. Yeah, there are.
The first rules of bourbon is what?
Well, it has to be at least 51% corn in your mash bill.
That's the first rule. Yeah.
It has to be aged at least 2 years in an unused charred white oak barrel.
Yep, that's the other one.
Not in Kentucky, by the way.
Doesn't have to be.
A lot of people think that you have to distill and age bourbon in Kentucky. That's not true. Actually, one of the more famous non-Kentuckian bourbons would be, I think it's called Bowman out of Virginia, the state I used to live in.
Yeah.
And there's a couple others around the country. Now, not to go too far on a tangent, but the reason that bourbon is so prolific as being from Kentucky is just because of that limestone-rich water that filters out a lot of those impurities like iron, which usually has a higher concentration in water. And iron really hinders the process. So amongst other things, that's why it's big in Kentucky. But in any case, the Bo and Luke recipe that Against the Grain did was kind of staying true to those details.
They had some of the ingredients. Yeah, they definitely had some of the ingredients that bourbon has to have. They didn't have the ratios, but yeah, definitely some of the ingredients. But this year, they put out a Amburana wood aged Bo and Luke, which is Amburana woods from South America. Usually Brazil, Argentina, I believe possibly Colombia as well is where the tree grows. But this flavor that comes out of that beer that's aged just in the wood, opposed to the regular Bo and Luke, was outstanding to me. Like I didn't understand how just a different type of wood could give these flavors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was abound by everyone that tried it. It was like, what? How is this possible? Just that a wood can create these flavors.
Right. And so with Bo and Luke, though, Bo and Luke has kind of a baseline bottle, right? A baseline flavor that you can get pretty, in a lot of different places. Now, the one you're talking about is one of their what they call variants, right? So they've done over the past 5 years when they started doing Bo and Luke, they've done a number of different variants. Some of the ones that we tried when we were on premises just a few months ago, when we were promoting the 5-year anniversary of Bo and Luke, they had a Scotch barrel aged Bo and Luke. Then they had a tequila aged Bo and Luke, and then the third one was rum, right? And so we did a guessing game, and not to brag, but I was the only one out of the 5 of us or so that was guessing that we were drinking the one that I think everyone had guessed. I think tequila, and I guessed the rum. So anyway, they do these little variants right over the years, and then the one you're talking about, the one that's made from the wood down in Brazil, right?
Yeah, South America wood. And again, the other ones again variants. Before it was kind of like it was a spirit aged, so it was aged in a barrel that was already aged in a spirit. This is a fresh barrel of this wood, and the wood just gives that flavor.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was charred or not. We should ask Jerry probably if it was charred, but I don't think it was. I think just the wood gave this flavor out.
Yeah.
And it's just spicy notes of like clove and ginger and a little cinnamon and just really crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So my idea was to go back to the homebrew club. I brought a bottle of this Bo and Luke Amburana wood and shared it with everyone. Everyone sampled it, and I said, okay, now I put down the gauntlet. I'm laying down the gauntlet, the challenge to you all. Create this beer again without the wood.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we did 2 weekends ago. Steve and I were down at Flywheel. They were gracious enough to offer us their location for brewing, so I didn't have to brew in the elements because it was a little chilly a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah, single digits at the time.
Yeah. It wasn't pretty outside. So inside it was nice, warm, able to brew. So we were brewing the stout. It is a stout with with rye, corn, a little bit of barley, and We'll
what
see how
else?
it comes out.
Well, what else? I mean, I thought you had a couple
I've got some secrets under the hat. I may divulge these secrets later on. I don't want to lay this out right now.
Okay, all right.
Because again, it is a contest. It's a challenge that I put out to everybody else. If they listen to this, they may change their idea. But I did grab some barrel dump. Got it somehow. 1792 to extract some flavors out of some spices to add to this. To try to get that flavor of that Amburano wood.
Right. Yeah, because when you guys had tasted the Amburano wood invoked Bo and Luke variant, it was all about dialing in what are these flavors that I'm identifying as I'm sipping on this. And if I can identify those flavors, Amburano wood from the Brazilian Amazon be damned, I will try to reproduce, and that's what you guys are doing.
That is it. And again, it goes back to my whole thing of like, it be damned, like you said, what it is, does it taste good? Who cares how we got to this point? Does it taste good?
Right.
If it's the original, cool. Is it the variant that came about the ways and tastes the same? Even better, I think, because it's an easier way to do it. But no, local breweries in the state are just growing by the truckloads.
Right.
Like, there's so many breweries opening up in Lexington, in Louisville, and then also kind of the satellite areas like Elizabethtown, again, with Flywheel and some other spots.
Right. And incidentally, kind of going back to what we were chatting about in the initial segment here, I moved here in 2005 from Virginia, and Virginia had breweries and bars and everything you can care to think of in the civilized world. Well, moving to Elizabethtown, we didn't have any straight, just a bar or, furthermore, a microbrewery of any kind. And now here we sit, and we have our own microbrewery in Elizabethtown. We have our own standalone bar, right? All these things kind of popping up. So I think, and this is something parallel to what we're seeing as we drive cross country, looking at different states, these small town Americas, these main street Americas, being revitalized. People, it's something much bigger happening behind the scenes with this. It's the impetus, and people kind of want to get back to this small town feel, right? And get away from the corporate, Walmart, Target, box store, mass produced conveniences. We just want to go back to what makes us feel human again, right?
Yeah, and I think that it's interesting what makes that available, because before, if you wanted to work at a nice place that would pay you enough to live in a nice area, you had to go to a bigger city. Now, as the internet grows and everything grows, you can live in a rural area and still be part of that larger piece and contribute to that larger piece, but not have to grow and move into that larger piece.
Absolutely.
That makes any sense. I mean, to me, that's an amazing thing that's just coming about in the last 5 years.
Yeah, definitely. So, and this is definitely not the end of the story either, right? It's going to continue to evolve, and it's fantastic. So, as these companies, as these breweries, like Against the Grain, continue to grow, and believe me, they are growing at an astounding rate in popularity. They're getting more resources. They're able to crank out more great product, but still staying true to the original vision of what they set out for. It's offering a lot of great things for all of us. So, all in all, it's great. And the cool thing about it too is, with places like Flywheel and even Against the Grain, we can sit down and have these conversations with the people that own the breweries and bounce ideas off of them, contribute ideas. They've got ideas that they want to share with us. It's a very collaborative, communal type thing. So,
and they're all creative people. That's it. And especially in the idea of like a brewery, a distillery, and even going into like the food industry, all these are creatives. They're people that are making something out of base things that we already have. Everyone has these things, but they're creating things that are not had before.
Right.
And it's amazing. And that's the thing. Going forward, if you guys know of anything, any brewery that's opening, let us know about these things. We would love to go out, check them out. Distilleries, same thing, as well as like kitchens.
Oh yeah,
restaurants.
Yeah, one of my favorite trips that we had taken over the past couple of years is when we went out to Danville, Kentucky, which is home of Center College, very distinguished academic institution, and cute little town. As it is, Danville. They had a great little pizza place. I forget the name. Do you remember the name of it?
Bluegrass Pizza and Pub. Oh,
yeah.
I could not forget that place.
Yeah. I don't know if they're still around. Hopefully they are.
Yeah. Colin and them, they're over there, yeah.
So they're fantastic. So Danville is a nice little day trip you could take. They hit the pizza place, and then right around the corner from there is a little place called Beer Engine, a little microbrewery back there, which since the time we had been out there has expanded their enterprise to Louisville, Kentucky as Monic, which is a restaurant and brew pub in Schnitzelburg area of Germantown, Louisville. Fantastic little place.
And I'll tell you what, I believe, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a distillery that just popped up in Danville as well. If anybody knows, let us know. Let us know what the name of it is. We'll come check it out. But I believe there is a new distillery in Danville as well.
Yeah.
To check out. So many good things in these small towns. And that's it. Bringing this small town vibe back, because we don't have to live in a big city to be part of that big city feel.
Yeah, I found myself needing to go to Louisville less and less. It was the kind of thing where several years ago, like I said, when I first got here, to get any type of culture, any type of progressive experience, any type of great food that had that creativity literally baked into the ingredients, you had to go to Louisville. But that's not so much the case these days, and I don't think Elizabethtown is unique in that sense. I mean, we have other small towns like Campbellsville with Brothers Barbecue, which is one of the best barbecue places in the state, hands down. I wish they would open one of their outfits down here in Elizabethtown, but maybe that'll happen one day. But Campbellsville been a great spot, Danville, and many other small towns here in Kentucky that have a lot of really unique, special experiences to share with everybody who goes there.
Definitely they do. And that's it. I mean, I think that's what we want to do. Again, we want to bring these small town and big city experiences to you in the coming future, and we will continue on with that. We'll give you a podcast that can give you those things, and bring those people that create those things to your forefront and kind of get ideas from them in the future.
Exactly. So, if you want to, on a more tactical level, track along with us, Facebook, True Kentucky Culture, and then True KY Culture on Instagram.
And Twitter, yeah.
And Twitter.
Either one, yeah.
So follow along with us, follow us there. We'll be doing these podcasts from time to time, so definitely subscribe to us on the various outlets out there. And we'll continue to push information your way. But definitely let us know if you have any suggestions in terms of things that you think we should check out. If you have any questions or you want to open a dialogue, definitely feel free to do so. But most of all, thanks for your time. Thanks for listening. And we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you for enjoying this.